name is Tarin Nix, and 7 years ago I said yes to something I thought I'd never do, which was work full-time in government. 7 years ago, Richard, our amazing land commissioner, asked me to come on as one of our deputies and help transform that agency. And every day since that moment, we've been delivering good government and delivering groundbreaking, earth-shattering, defying results. Not only in terms of billions of dollars, but in terms of transparency, really great staff and morale, and a plethora of other things. I have a master's in social work. In the last year and a half, I founded an organization with a bunch of experts called Fix Our City Difference. We cover the kind of 46 government functions of City Hall and where they're coming up short, how it could have been avoided, and how we fix it. I'm serious about delivering solutions. I have a track record of 7 years of doing it, and I hope I can count on one of your top decisions on the ballot.
I'm going to give the candidate 2 minutes to answer the question, just so that we can get in as many questions as possible. So we're going to jump in because I feel like 1 minute is enough time for this. And thank you, Tarin, for running.
Yeah, thanks for helping for doing this.
All right, so first question is, and this is character, it can encapsulate a lot of different topics, but we're going to start with about public campaign financing. And the question is, why did you choose or not choose to pursue public campaign financing?
Yeah, I have an interesting relationship with public financing. I truly believe in it. I think our public finance law is written very inadequately. I don't think they do the enforcement that is necessary to honor taxpayer dollars and to uphold democracy. I started here in Santa Fe with a similar situation of someone who had violated the law. They were not held accountable for that. They did change that portion of the law after. We have someone right now that is also violating it. The second reason why I didn't end up taking public financing is because I had a super PAC for the last year and a half for Fix Our City Different. I've raised well over $60,000. I felt like it was very inauthentic and not fair to taxpayer dollars to take that money, showing that I could actually raise that money already. And so it felt, I didn't know we were going to have a recession. I said that to someone earlier. I was like, we didn't know there was going to be a recession and 8 people on the race. So maybe in hindsight, I would have figured out a way to have done the public financing. But yeah, I just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The next question is, if you're raising private funds, which you are, who is your biggest contributor or contributors? Are there any financial contributions that you are not accepting due to personal or moral conflicts of interest?
I have a job at the land office, and for those of you who don't know about the land office, we're like the biggest landlord that no one knows exists. We manage 9 million acres throughout New Mexico. There is not an industry in New Mexico that does not come through our door that we do not have to build relationships with to do the to put the money on the table for the New Mexicans and the beneficiaries. So I don't have anyone that I don't think I'd take like Turning Point and all of the extreme conservative money, but I don't have any one group that is overwhelmingly funding my campaign right now. Lots of just old personal friends that I've met along the journey.
All right. The next question is, do you support establishing the Office of Equity and Inclusion? Why or why not?
So I really do think that that should be baked into everything that HR does from a hiring perspective. I feel like we're just adding bureaucracy to do a job that by law is your job. It's your job to ensure equity and make sure if you have the same job description, everyone has to get paid the same regardless of how many years you put in. There are things from classifications and kind of how we level people up that I think could change to kind of address some of that. But for the most part, I really want to see that as a daily in and out practice, and that we're always, when a job comes up, we're going out and looking at comparable markets to say, Houston, we have the same cost of living, right? What are they paying their comptroller or their parks staff, right? We need to be competitive. It's too expensive to live here to not be competitive.
Just to be clear, the Office of Equity and Inclusion was an internal analysis and also external. So they would support external community equity and inclusion aspects, just so you know that.
I think there should be a position within an HR that's dedicated to making sure that happens. I just don't think it needs a whole division. A whole division is multiple staff members.
Okay. I have other questions formulated, but I can hand it over to you all if you have a specific question, and we'll make sure that we're on task. So, does anyone have a question? It variety. These are just ideas. Character can be a lot of different things. So, is there anyone that would like to ask a question? I definitely have more on my sheet.
I go. So, my question, Tarin, should you be elected, can you give us a sense of your plan for staffing or direction for the initial phases of the city government?
Yeah, one, I think I talked to a lot of the current city councilors, and I told them it makes no sense to me in a overwhelmingly democratic community that there's so much infighting and disagreement in how we move forward as a community. And I get that some of that's by design and some of that's by this current administration, and so no judgment for it, but I'm mayor, we don't do that, right? If you have a problem in your district, I want to know, because I want to help triage how we fix it immediately, right? I don't want a 3 to 5 year window on everything that needs to get done. I want to figure out how we fix procurement and go out quicker. I want the city councilors to actually understand what the budget is and how the money's getting spent. It's one thing for the public to see top lines. It's a whole other thing for the city councilors not to know what's actually happening. From a staffing perspective, when I say I said yes to taking a job 7 years ago, I got Stephanie elected to that office as the first woman, first educator, first Latina. Super proud. Her transition team fell out, and I ended up running her transition team and building her dream team. That dream team has stayed intact. I'm really proud of the experts and brilliant managers that we hired, but that is where I feel like my strength really lies, in building coalitions, finding the right people to plug them in to get the job done. A mayor can't do it by themselves. So for me, it's that. It's also, we came into a really unhealthy work environment. There was no equity, no inclusion, and so we really worked hard to change that around, and I really want to do that internally at City Hall.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question related to character?
Yeah, at the end of the day, knowing who you are and who you want to be as a mayor of Santa Fe, what is it, end of your term, that you want to look back and say, I did these 3 things?
Yeah.
What are those important?
One, I want to be the most accessible political person you've ever had. So I always say, I have pieces outside with my cell phone number, take it, put it in your phone. I want to hear from everyone. The 2 things that I want to be known for is the one-stop location to deal with our unhoused and mental health epidemic going on and drug addiction, and affordable housing, mainly Midtown. I want to build Section 8 and affordable units that look like in Loretto. I want to build a lot of them, density and height in one location is what I'm fighting for.
How high do you want to go?
6 stories is what we need in order for it to look like
6 stories?
To have the parking still. And there's so many parking restrictions right now that are not being talked about, and it's part of the reason why we don't have as much affordable housing as we should.
I'm sorry, where were the housing, 6-story houses?
Midtown, where the college is right now. Because it has that, it's in that dip,
That's what, it's just lying there.
Yeah, and there's $30 million of asbestos remediation that needs to happen. So there's a multi-level approach. I think to turn around City Hall and all the things I'm talking about is a 12-year endeavor. It's not a, it's not even a 2-term, right? I want to be really clear, but the one stop I want to put in action within the first 30 days. You'll see it.
City Hall should move there and make that the center of the town, center of the community.
Maybe. That building is seen its better days. I don't know if that elevator is ever coming back at City Hall, and that's not exactly ADA compliant to leave people stranded throughout the building. So, I think there's a real conversation that needs to happen.
All right. So let's mix it up, make sure that folks, if you all have questions, Veronica, Ruth, any questions that we have? Do you have a question, Rosemary? Okay, all right. The topic is character, and so...
Do you have it?
I have other questions too. Do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
I just want to get down to the basic money. And what do you know about the money in the city now, and what do you think how it's being spent, and how would you do it differently?
Now, I've sat with both the former state auditor and state treasurer to go over all the findings that I wrote up, just as a novice, right, as a layperson. My finance is not my background. I have a master's in social work, so I'm not trying to pretend. And I was like, am I reading this right? Because I went back all the way to the very first one, which is cost administration, and they all not only read very similarly, they're not actually auditing the majority of the money that's moving through the city. So, it was interesting to hear Ron say a forensic audit. If you go back and read the newspaper a year ago, and I said what the first thing should happen no matter what, that I did believe that, because I think we have a cash flow issue, and I think we need to figure out where the waste is happening. Because I think there's major waste happening.
Any other specific questions? I have more on my sheet here. Yeah, we have one more minute anyway. How do you deal with conflict?
So I joke, but a master's in social work is really just a master's in conflict management. I learned a long time ago that I don't have to like you to work with you. And I think it shows in the work that I do at the land office. We have to work with a lot of people that I do not agree with on any level, but we get the job done. Like industries that I do not agree with. I love everyone that works for the land office. But, I don't have them finding real common ground no matter the disagreement.
Thanks, Tarin.
You could talk a little bit about first of all, after someone finishes their question, I start a 2-minute timer, and then this is my stop. Yep. Okay, so
Where's the sign? 1, 5, 3.
okay. Talk to us a little bit about the Land Development Code update. How have you already supported the update, and how would you plan to as mayor, and what are the most crucial aspects of the update?
Yeah, most crucial aspect is obviously the 4 homes per acre, increase the density to ensure that whatever is vacant still we can maximize that opportunity. I have signed on already to commitment to get phase 1 done. I think it needs to be done within the first year. I think we've spent a lot of time, energy, and resources, and it needs to happen. So I'm committed to doing that, and I'm committed to doing a whole bunch of internal changes to streamline processes and permitting and all kinds of other things that are needed for procurement. Is that fast enough?
So did I hear? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what update it was.
Oh, the phase 1 of the code that they've been working on for the last 2+ years.
Our development, our codes for land development have been updated in 20 years, and so they're updating with the city.
And so this
Since 1999.
So that's what kind of Joanne was talking about that last time, kind of the permitting and zoning, all of that is within the code. So you should look that up and go to the website and read it. You guys might want to go to some of this meeting.
So what's proposed is per acre, so 4 houses per acre.
You could if they were going to be affordable. Mm-hmm.
So putting condos
And in
things
certain
instead of
areas.
one
In certain areas, not all over. And it doesn't touch the zoning stuff yet. That's the general plan conversation that hopefully is coming to a neighborhood near you, as opposed to just trying to cram it down your throat, which is what they're doing right now.
Because right now there's a lot of places in Santa Fe where you can only build single family homes on a lot of land. So they're trying to build more places where people can build more density homes. What's your question?
Speaking of the land development, are there any restrictions on what builders can build and cannot build? And I'm looking at the advancements in modular housing, which can really lower the cost. And I know we have historical districts, and we got to be brown and whatever they are. But can we take advantage of some of the cost reductions from modular?
The answer to that question is yes. In fact, one of my employees had a modular home put up on their street, right over here actually, right off of Cordova. And they were pretty outraged. They did a whole lot of homework, called attorneys to find out if that was allowed, and as long as you don't have an HOA or a neighborhood association and covenants that forbid it, the historic district is Yeah. Now, getting through the permitting process to get the yes from the city, that can still take as long as a regular home. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question to that. So, I guess we use the term a lot, affordable housing. That is thrown into the mix for everything. And what always I try to understand is that you can, the city can say, okay, a contractor or a builder can build 4 houses on this 1 acre. But ultimately, it's up to the contractor what they want to sell it for.
Yeah, so the only way, I'm on Habitat for Humanity's board, the only way to have truly affordable housing stay affordable are 2 ways. Habitat, or an organization like Habitat that is locking it in through multiple sellers, or city-owned and operated, right? Like through the a more robust housing trust is what I'm proposing. I'm proposing like $100 million. No. I'm proposing something far more out of the box and that other communities have done around the country. It's basically you figure out a way, whether that's through bonds, funding, grants, to figure out how to pool $100 million into a trust to build and operate your own affordable housing. So what they do is they build apartments, right, and most of them are, the units are income, right, of average, the median, right? So like sometimes they go up to like 300%, but like Habitat for Humanity is only that 30 to 80% average income median, right? So like you can have those units. Section 8, we have hundreds of families on the list for Section 8, hundreds of families on the list for Habitat for Humanity homes, plus thousands of single-family homes and units needed, right? So I want to offset the cost, right, with normal renters that are willing to pay the market rate, but they offset the costs in those buildings of your low-income folks. But it's a way for city-owned and operated to keep it affordable and lock it in. I also want to make sure that the housing trust is keeping their rates locked in and affordable.
But how do you do that when we know?
Okay,
because it's not privately owned.
So would you support using public property and public financing to increase the supply and reduce the cost of infrastructure to build homes, such as tax increment development districts, and using public property like we did in Terra Contenta?
One, I'm all for city using its property for that build out, for the build out of that, for the build out of healthcare, and water infrastructure, right? I think that we have some desperate needs that the city land can fill. In terms of, we've just answered these questions for a union questionnaire recently, and I told them, I was like, in theory, like some of these like tips in private-public partnerships don't pass the snuff test, right? They're more taking advantage of taxpayer dollars. But when it comes to affordable housing or housing in general, like that's where I have to say, like I'm willing to exhaust every possibility necessary to build out that housing. I'm ready to get creative, right? Think outside of the box. So if that's the last option and that's all that's there, then yeah, because we can't keep just not doing it, right?
You mentioned a big bold number of 100 million. I'm on the
seems to be the sweet spot
Community
everyone's
Development
found.
Commission that oversees the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which only has 3 million.
Yes.
I'm wondering how you felt and feel about the lawsuit for the tax on homes being sold for the amount over $1 million, and what other sources of funding are you thinking of?
Yeah, so I mean, like if I'm mayor, I'm not ever proposing policy that violates state statute. Sorry. That's just not how I roll. That violated in 2009 when they tried to pass it and failed the first time. It violated it this last time. The state needs to act. They need to act on that. They need to act on locking in properties with lower rates for housing, right? Like that is a state issue, unfortunately, and I plan on holding their feet to the fire. I need our state legislators and senators, and we've got great ones, to help us reprioritize our infrastructure build out, right? And that means our side roads, right? That means continuing to help get Agua Fria off septics, right? I want them really being the winner in their districts for like turning things around, and I'm happy to be the pass through that does it, Let me blow your mind though. So since 2019, 5,000 permits have come in to build single-family homes. Only 1,600 of them actually were permitted and built. Guess how many were affordable? Under 70.
Well,
So, I mean, we have a problem on all fronts.
yeah, and then again, when you say affordable, I still, question what's affordable. I mean, when I look at the Santa, just perusing the Santa Fe real estate, there is not a home.
No. Yeah, they say starter homes are $450,000, which
$600,000.
is clearly not a starter home.
Not that. So I'm wondering where are these affordable? Where every councilor, every mayor is pushed out affordable housing.
So would you be willing to use the affordable housing trust to provide housing assistance at 400 AMI instead of the 150 AMI that is doing it right now? Do you know what an AMI is?
That's what when I say like 30 to 80, that's what I was talking about, the average medium income. So,
Which is 80,000.
yeah, I mean, like,
And that's actually
I would love to see the data on, like, we had, the city staff used to take advantage of the down payment assistant program home, and now it's
That's
not.
how I got my home.
Yeah, I have a lot of staff that have their home from that program. Doesn't really exist, I can tell so far, and they haven't been able to make that happen for first responders. Obviously, that needs to come back, but like for me, the city's real main purpose and goal needs to be getting employees, staff back in that we need, to keep the lights on in our restaurants, in our hospitals, in the hourly day-to-day workers that fill a very necessary thing, and they're in that 30 to 80. They're not in the 300.
Did you see the
300 is almost $200,000 a year. I'm not building city-owned affordable housing for them. I have to build it for the other folks that will never stand a chance.
But that's not what 400 AMI is.
Well, our
It's
average
basically
income is 75,000.
It's basically for a family in Santa Fe of $124,000. And if you saw the Alice report that was in the Santa Fe, New Mexico, it takes people an average of $99,000 to live affordably in Santa Fe.
I would say the first thing is the first 30 days, I'm immediately taking action to figure out how we fix our wastewater treatment plant situation. So I'm the only one in this race that actually knows the private landowners next to that. And I've talked to them and asked. We've already ruined their land, we've ruined their water. And I'm like, if we buy that, would you let us buy it? And they were like, here, yeah, let's go. So we have a location that could potentially build a new wastewater treatment plant, remediate the current one, create the wetlands back. But I think that's an action that needs to happen within the first year. It's going to have to be a plethora of funding between the state, Fed, grants, and what we can't cover will go to a bond, I think, in the first year. I want to be quick and move. Midtown, the thing that I want to do very quickly once in is immediately go after brownfield designation to clean up the asbestos. Millions and tens of millions of dollars of asbestos cleanup that needs to happen. We don't have that kind of resources, but there are resources out there for us to go after, but we do need to call ourselves a brownfield first. I think the housing development portion of Midtown is a little bit bigger of a conversation and not exactly immediate that's going to happen because there's just too much environmental work to do. And then lastly, parks. Oh man, parks. Y'all know the organization Fixers Did It Different. We have surveyed over 1,000 Santa Feans already to really figure out what they want, what their priorities are, where the gaps in services are, where the city really could step in to help, everyday Santa Feans. And roads and parks interchange, but like they are top three, crime and homelessness and parks and roads. Those are the things that people really care about, and I think it is a matter of internal processes and making sure that we're streamlining, fixing our procurement, getting out to bid quicker. I don't know why it's taking us 3 to 5 years to do projects that we have capital outlay for, because it's cutting it real close to losing that money or having to ask for an extension. We've got to get out of moving projects if we're not ready to go.
I have a quick follow-up on that. Have you had experience with brownfield project designation?
Not designation, no. We do a lot of Superfund worksite in the land office. We have not had to go after a brownfield designation. I do understand that it is not the easiest of processes, which is, but it's necessary.
Okay, somebody else?
Trying to avoid Superfund sites, that's really,
Yeah.
which a brownfield technically kind of is,
So these are really great overview, larger scales, and I think that a lot of the parks and the roads are because I think in the city budget this last year there was something like 8 people, full-time employees for parks. How are they going to do these designation of parks? How do you really get to go down to the bare bone? Because it's great as an overview of, yes, we want to fix them and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but how are you going to do those 8 people?
Yeah, so I think,
how are you going to work that?
Yeah, well, I think one, capacity's got to get built, right? That is a prime core job of City Hall, so they've got to build capacity. You do that in a plethora of ways. One, adding back the internship program that was so successful for 2 decades with our juniors and seniors in high school. I feel like 1 or 2 were selected to have a full-time job at the end, like it was a pipeline to career as well. I want that back. That's an opportunity for them to grow. I know that all the improvements that we've had so far have not been paid by the city and have been paid by third-party groups. Very fortunate to have those third-party groups and organizations that are willing to do that work. We need to maximize even more of those if we want to expand, because we can't keep up with what we have. When it comes to actually staffing, that's why I say I want a forensic audit. I can't figure out where all this money is being spent. I've compared us to cities with capitals the same size as us. It makes no sense. Where is our money going? And I think that if we really have an honest conversation about the waste and the overhead that doesn't need to exist, I think that leaves a lot of room for redirecting it to our parks and to our police. And I think that's directly where it needs to go, based on how everyone else in the world that manages their cities better, how they spend their budget.
Don't forget our roads.
20 to 30. Yeah, well, that's a team effort, because of the multi-land ownership and stuff. But I've talked to the state DOT guys. They're like, we try all the time to get the city to work with us. So that kind of stuff ends, right? I have a great relationship with the county manager who ran his judge race. We're family. I can't wait to bring everyone back to the table, to have real partnerships in all of these things that we need to address.
What about public? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's kind of a follow-up to what you're talking about the extra employment. I work with the city, but I worked with regular corporations for many years until we interfaced with the city. And it's shocking to me, at the time, there were so many city employees in every department. We talked and laughed about the fact how many more employees we had and how many more parks and so forth than any comparable city of our size. The plummeting of the number of city employees, so that everything, so much is being contracted out, and you've got to delay a timetable to get the contracts done. What about bringing employees?
I agree. I want it back.
How does that work? How do you do it?
I think it's a balance, right? Because one, you need to work with the unions to bring them back. You can't just automatically decide that I'm adding union jobs back in, right? I think I want them back. I can't imagine that anyone wouldn't want them back. But I think it's how do we add them back? We're bringing them back into the table on every level, right? Getting that agreement done immediately. It blows my mind, because if you read the city council meetings, you think that it was signed, still delivered, and people got their raises, right? That didn't happen, right? So I think one, it's honoring our workforce currently. I don't think anyone wants to come work for us currently, and so we got to figure out how to take care of the folks that we have and build that better rapport. I think it's a combination of we need to pay better wages. This idea that we want to have a conversation with businesses about paying a living wage, the city's not paying $24 an hour, which is the bare minimum wage that really should exist for a single person in the city of Santa Fe to live, right? So I don't know how quickly those can come back. This administration has saddled us with contracts that have 3 to 5 year windows. So to bail out of them, they're millions of dollars. The Marty Sanchez one is that one made me, it was a midnight vote that made my skin boil. So it's the bus drivers. I want the bus drivers actually to be in a smart transportation union contract. I don't want to have to get into I want them to be able to have their own negotiation and not have to deal with whatever goes on.
Is there another burning question or something burning you want to say as your last minute on it?
You mentioned transportation.
Yeah, I want more. I want more.
That'd be great. There's funding for that's not being used.
That we actually have in the bank funding? Well, that's
There's a quarter cent
frustrating.
tax
Are you
and all
talking
kinds of
about
stuff.
more public
Yes,
transportation?
yes. So I mean, not only do we need a route from the airport that goes down airport up Cerritos and around downtown and back out, that runs all day, all night. Like people are getting stranded all over town, because they don't want to drink and drive. I was 20. I made bad decisions in my 20s. I don't want to do that either in my 40s now, right? So like we're putting people in a really precarious situation in town right now. But then we're also just leaving residents and tourists stranded at the airport because there's 3 taxis, and we're paying for those taxis too. That's a contract, like those are things that like we shouldn't be having to do that. We should have a real
You
bus.
you can't get bus drivers to even apply. I think they've been down 40% from what I calculated for the past 10 years. Right before COVID, they were low before COVID, and they didn't come back.
Vern
You
is
can't
not
have
going
those
to stop
services.
tweeting, so we better move on. But
Anyway,
thank you.
More questions? Then you take 2 minutes.
Would anybody like to start us off? Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Karen, I'm Rosemary Romero. The city of Santa Fe owns its own water company. What are your ideas about preserving more water? I mean, there's ideas around thinning that actually adds more water to the landscape.
Yes.
But there's also restrictions at the city level, which if you're watering things around your house, you're actually protecting your house. But any ideas on how to enhance or improve water services?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent in water reuse. I think there's tens of millions of dollars out there to build, kind of substations all over town, not only to clean water, but then to use it back in our homes or to put back into the living river to meet our requirements of, what we put back in that we take out. I think it should be non-negotiable for new builds.
Yeah.
And so that's one. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plant is a big issue and a big part of that piece, and making sure that we have gray water resale so that people aren't forced to use potable water to water their grass, water the golf courses, build homes, right? Everything goes up in cost exponentially because we're failing to meet that need. And then, stormwater capture, all of the kind of things that we could do organically that we should be doing across all city-owned.
Yes. So a follow-up question, if folks don't mind, is the city does have a stormwater management plan.
And they've done two really great ones.
I worked on both of them.
I love that.
Listen, I read all these studies.
But most of them not so great, but that one.
Yeah, what would you do to improve? I mean, it was when I was on council, or right after council.
Yeah.
So what are your ideas for improving that plan? Because it's a really good plan.
Do I have to improve it, or do I need to? See, that's the thing. I don't think I need to redo anything, study anything. I love like the MCO one for the metropolitan planning one, MCO one. When I read that, I was like, oh my god, these traffic calming measures, like all the things that like everyone's been begging for, like they're all in there. They're all in your thing. They're listed exactly what to do. So then it's like what's the priority out of the list, and then we start going. I don't want to waste any more time.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what
the stormwater management plan actually did modeling and this, so it doesn't need to be improved. I was trying to be nice about it, but it's a
no, I
plan
don't
that you implement.
And I want to institute a dig once policy. So if we're going to open up a road or redo one, I want to open it up and check everything and then replace the things that need to be replaced and then put water monitoring in.
So what are plans for 100-year water? Because we're there. It's
past it. I think it's all a lie.
Yeah.
I think what's being reported is nonsense. We don't track anything once it comes into the city. We know what comes in and we know what goes out. We have no idea what's happening inside. So I call bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's the only real study that I want. I want an infrastructure, a true infrastructure study. Yeah.
I'm sorry that I have to
Before we do that general plan,
Newark takes care of my husband who was in the hospital, but I had to do he's fine. Uber for him because he can't drive. So I'm sorry that I had to do that just now.
It's an emergency.
I thought you were having to leave.
No.
I'm going to ask the question I asked before. Can you talk about what you as a mayor and what the city can do in terms of renewable energy? What is your renewable energy?
So, people have been talking about the AES solar array, right? It's a big thing. I've had to answer a lot on questionnaires, and I think some of the conservation folks have been kind of like surprised by my answer. But like as a land manager, right, our state land office is right next to where they're going to do that development, which wouldn't be a reason that we would ever stand in its way because development has to happen. We need energy, right? But the Rancho Viejo family that owns Rancho Viejo is the one doing AES that benefits primarily from it, right? And they're shutting us down from being able to build affordable housing on our land. They will never give us access. And until the county takes over the road and then builds new access, we'll never get, they are locking down the last of affordable housing development opportunities because that land right below it, now it's all going to be conservation. And I love that they got a conservation easement. I love that for them. But I really do think, and I love the technology that actually was proposed. I think it's good technology. I don't agree with the 14-mile line for tie-ins when it could have been planned and had less than a mile to go. That's where it should have been. We should have had a renewable energy corridor there. Matt Baca, the private landowner that I'm going to do a deal with to build a new wastewater treatment plant right behind it on his private land that he does not want anymore. he has tried for years with the county to build renewable, and they've shut him down year after year. So, I have a great relationship with the county manager. We're family. I did an election. I have no problem rebuilding that relationship immediately.
Isn't the site where they are proposing now, yes, private property?
Yeah, it's Rancho Viejo.
It's Warren Thompson's
Oh, it's
property.
Rancho Viejo's private property?
The main.
The Thompson family.
And I know they mean well, but when they did the planning hearing at the county, I sat through the 16 hours. The first question was asked by the planning council was so who operates this once it's built? I'm like, none of y'all have ever read state statute. Because if you read state statute, you would know there's only two ways to do commercial grade renewable energy development or any kind of energy development on private land, and that is if the county is going to own and operate it after it's done. And the county had no idea. And so Rancho Viejo will make the money off of its build, and then the county will be saddled with it if it gets approved. Now, I don't think it's getting approved. PNM doesn't seem like they want either on that route, but you never know. And it's not energy for Santa Fe. I've read the RFP. Energy for New Mexico to meet the bare minimum, ETA minimum. So again, technology's great. I just wish it was over by the airport. It's self-contained, and it's all, when the fire goes, it's only in that one thing, it puts it out. There's no environmental contamination that is so prevalent in the other ones. Can't just go boom.
That point, if I could, Tarin, is the PFAS issue is also coming from that facility, as well as the National Guard, and so it's the airport, the National Guard, and somebody else.
Yeah.
And how closely would you work with the county to address those issues, which are at the EPA level?
So the county's actually been far more proactive in addressing the PFAS issue than the city has. I mean, they've gone after funding.
Forever.
They've got at least one facility that's being upgraded. But I went down a rabbit hole about the plume, plutonium plume that's coming from Los Alamos, to figure out exactly what it would take for us to clean our water and waste so we wouldn't have all those toxic things in it. And when I went down that rabbit hole to figure out what those systems look like, and to figure out that our systems that we currently have, please, they wouldn't even make a dent in anything. So we need to hold Los Alamos accountable, have them pay for all those upgrades that would include removing PFAS.
Yeah. I went on a real rabbit hole. Yeah.
I was explaining something what? And I was like,
Well, Seneca is getting the brunt of our wastewater facility. They should be really angry.
We destroyed that.
Yeah.
El Dorado came into my office wanting to drill a new well on our land. That would have impacted
Really
Lesbian again.
quickly,
And I was like, we're
what
not
do
doing
you
it.
personally like about appreciating the environment?
What do you mean?
What is your passion about the environment?
Oh, water.
First question is, what do you see as the most important issue regarding homelessness, and how would you address it?
Yeah, I'm pretty honest. If you read my piece or read anything that I've written in the New Mexican, you'll see that my top one concern is in the first 30 days, bringing all regional partners, county, Cofria, all the neighborhoods around, and creating a regional partnership to build a one-stop location, figure out what space is needed, where we go, and then go find the funding that we can't find from grants and federal dollars and state dollars. Then I want to put a bond out immediately. So you'll see immediate action happening to build a location that has a mental health facility because we're out of beds, a drug rehab facility because we're out of free and discounted drug rehab. We've lost 2 facilities over the last 2 years in the county, and a shelter, enrichment center, and an encampment area, because not everyone is going to be indoors. And so I think that is something that needs to happen immediately in the first 30 days, the conversation and the action starting to move.
Okay, and she just addressed questions 1 and 2 pretty much, so if you guys have another question regarding those first questions, maybe jump in now, and then I'll ask.
Follow up on those 2 is your question, what are you going to do? What about the NIMBY, and who's going to accept the space?
Yeah, I have a master's in social work. I truly believe in transparency and bringing everyone to the table and hearing all sides. But at the end of the day, the job of mayor is to make the decision that's best for the community as a whole. And the community as a whole needs a space. I think the best place to put them is right by the police. It is far enough away from all residential. There's enough vacant lots. There's the United building that's also empty. I'm happy to have a conversation. I sit on Habitat's board to see if they would also move locations to have that area. We don't have to put around housing development. There are plenty of spaces that are on bus lines, around food, and by hospitals to do the right thing for everyone, right? So yeah, that's where I'm fighting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, what are the solutions you have for panhandling?
Well, one would be to enforce the current law, to at least have the conversation. I don't think you need to arrest and, ticket folks unless they're perpetually coming back. But I don't think the conversations are really being had. I don't think our alternative response units are actually being utilized in the way that they're supposed to be. They're clearing encampments and encampments only, and sometimes administering Narcan. But for the most part, they are not in our neighborhoods, in our businesses, on the streets, really having that interpersonal communication and connection with, folks that are unhoused. And I want to see them redirected and expanded in a real meaningful way to address that.
Okay. So now I'm opening it up for other questions or clarification on any of those.
You mentioned obtaining the funding, the money. The money's there. We have organizations like LifeLink. We have other subsidiaries like the Lamplighter. We have pallet homes. The money's there. It's just a hodgepodge of assistance. What would stabilize or bring together all these funding sources?
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation about the privatization of so much of city function. Obviously Peace Place, now Urban Alchemy or whatever they're calling it. I don't agree with spending millions of dollars to get less. And that's what we have done, from the golf courses to the homeless shelter to everything in between. I don't agree with that. I think it's a misuse of money and a misuse of funds. And the pallet shelter homes, it's a temporary thing. They're less than 10 years shelf life. I think that's not as dignified as a solution that we could come up with if we have the ample land, and we do as a city, to actually build out real housing that actually people can want to live in and be proud of, and that neighbors don't have a problem with. We also pay LifeLink $1.3 million a year to do those 10 pallet shelter homes. That's not sustainable. What I'm suggesting is, there'll be a bond, it will be, is a way to centralize all necessary activity, and so it's police managed actively. We need transitional housing for our youth. We've got 1,000, displaced, unhoused teens that we're never having a conversation about, but we have that with us. I don't think it's as easy. I know I'm making it sound easy. I realize it's not. Transitional housing necessary, but the Lamplighter Inn doesn't exist because this administration has every turn stopped their process. So I want to streamline all of that stuff, ensure that anything that's affordable housing, transitional housing, Section 8 housing is jumping straight to the front of the line. We're making it as easy as possible to get to build as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Thank you. Any question over here?
Woo! I thought that was thunder.
Questions?
I kind of have a question.
Yeah, and if you can...
I don't mean any disrespect. I'm talking about everybody that we've heard from. Everybody. It's us and them. And we are them and they are us. They are people just like us. And we're treating them like those people over there. They're inconveniencing us. They're costing us money. Are we doing anything to integrate ourselves into them and to find out why they became... When I was a kid, I'm probably the oldest person here.
No, I'm older.
Okay, well, congratulations. I grew up in and around LA, and we used to go to downtown LA and watch the vagrants and the homeless and the hobos, and they were all confined to downtown Los Angeles. You get out of that congested area downtown, you didn't see homelessness. What's causing this? Are we really trying to find out?
I mean,
we can put Band-Aids and put them in places.
Yeah, well, we know it's a lack of housing and a lack of mental health and drug treatment. it's why I say, like, in the first 30 days, that has to be the priority about how are we moving big numbers of, beds of service providers into fix that situation, right? Because, like, it doesn't matter what we do. We can build as much housing as we want. It's not going to take those people that are currently on the streets off, right? We need intervention before they get on the streets, too. The amount of people that we really could be assisting from a rental assistance, from renters' rights, right? There's all plethora. Health insurance. I mean, we could be doing buyback of debt like other communities are that have a lot of wealth. We have a lot of wealth. We have the most nonprofits in the country, and money is fundraised out of here every day to go to other projects. Like, we should be trying to figure out how to maximize it more.
Okay, we have 1 minute, but it's really going to be 30 seconds. So you had one more question.
This is not a trick question. You were pointing at me. I have a voice too. Trick question. Court, homeless court. Now that we're criminalizing homelessness, what is your opinion of holding homeless court? They used to do it at Pete's Place. I don't know if Alchemy's doing it, but I'm still trying to get an answer on it.
Oh, I'd love to talk to you about that. With a lot of the folks that we have chronically here, we have like 700 plus that are chronically unhoused. Have been chronically unhoused since I moved here 15 years ago. It's not like they are our people. They are us. We are them, right? This idea that like they're going to go away, they're not going to go away, right? Now I just forgot what your question was.
Homeless court.
Oh, homeless court. A lot of the folks that are chronically homeless are already deemed by the actual courts as not being able to stand trial. So, maybe that was the solution that they came up with from like internal. I'm down to have that conversation. I'm also down to bring the religious group back into the fold.
Check with the city attorney on his homeless court.
I am. I have not heard anyone talk about it.
No, nobody's answered it today.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Tarin Nix, and the table here is the obelisk, the who, the what, the where, how to move it, replace it, or restore it, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. One, I don't think that the city should have ever, when they were notified for 2 years that someone wanted to take it down, I think they should have had honest and forthright conversations at that moment and really figured out legally what was possible and what was not. I don't think illegally moving it in the middle of the night and breaking it and then allowing it to come down was good government on any shape or measure. I think legally they have the responsibility to rebuild it. It is not their job to decide yay or nay. It should be a public discussion and a discussion with the state because that is where we gave the authority to over that office. So I would rebuild it immediately because the court has ordered us to, and the fact that we keep defying multiple court orders on this and other things is unacceptable to me. I would love a better conversation about what big conversation we're actually having with that piece, what words are used that we're telling all sides of the history in really authentic and accessible ways that aren't just reading, they're listening and viewing and hearing testimony from natives and Spanish and new cultures that have come in and their impacts. I think that we're missing a really great conversation that's a beautiful part of Santa Fe, and I'd like to have it.
So the obelisk itself, we are told, is in shatters.
Definitely in
and
pieces.
There are pieces that are missing, and it's not something that is going to be readily repaired without a lot of expense. So what would be your idea to rebuild that?
Yeah, so I've talked to some really great artists who do multi-story installations like Karen Yank, and I said, how hard would it be to build a new one, right? Just a new one, not old pieces, just a new one. And she's like, for the amount of money that the city spent on lawsuits and everything, I could have rebuilt that obelisk 3 times. It is not hard to rebuild the obelisk. If you were going to use the current pieces, she had a suggestion, and I'd actually heard it from other community members, which was to take the pieces that do currently exist and to fuse them back together with turquoise.
That was my idea, and my
Freaking love
response
it.
at the council.
Freaking love it.
Oh God, I forgot. It's a Japanese term. They repair it.
But I just,
and I, you know,
so
I said, why
it's a
don't
beautiful
you
concept.
turquoise and some silver and some clay
to tell all
and
the
have
cultures.
everybody be involved artistically to
I loved
replace
it.
that.
I loved it.
But I don't know that there are enough pieces to make that happen. So you would say probably find somebody that's artistic enough to be able to rebuild
I think, you know, once we have, you know, that community discussion, I would love to have, like, artists give...
be a part of it.
Like, yeah, like, present to the community of, like, what they see, like, what they would love. If they had to reimagine and reinterpret, like, what it would be. I don't know why we're being closed-minded about it, especially if it can't just be put back exactly the way it was, right? But
and apparently it can't be put back exactly the way it was. So what does the obelisk mean to you?
I mean, I don't try to pretend, you know, that I, you know, have a cultural relation with it. That obviously isn't the case. But for me, what it means is it is a glaring reminder of the inefficiencies and inability of this administration to deliver good government at every turn. And the fact that not only do folks that have been here for so many generations have to see it and be reminded of it on a daily basis, it is one of the first things that, you know, our visitors also see. And it is not the foot that we should be putting forward.
So when, if you were elected mayor, where would that sit on your list of agendas of things that need to get done within a short period of time?
So I believe in a transparency and overly communicating, right? So not only from a general plan, right, I think that we should go back into the neighborhoods and really start having a conversation about what the old general plan was, how they got there, why certain overlays and restrictions and covenants were put into place, right? Because, like, as someone who's not born and raised here, I don't really feel it's my place to go in and tell a bunch of people that have been here for generations and lived in those homes for generations that, like, I want to change it, right? So, like, I think the same thing with the obelisk. I don't think we exhausted people feeling heard and seen in that moment. And so I would really love to, there's, Deborah Oliver did the private work with the 7 original families and the people that tore down the obelisk to do the reunification and remediation kind of like work. It wasn't public, it was a private thing. But I was like, can something like that? She's like, what transpired in that room between the perpetrators and the families that, you know, were, you know, victimized, like, was beautiful. And you could feel a lot of healing taking place in that room. And I was like, I need that for the whole community. Like, how do we, you know, replicate that for the mass? Because we are just so fractured and divided. And I do think this administration has done it by design. I think it benefits them to keep us talking about an obelisk as opposed to all the millions of dollars of private contracts they're wasting.
Wasn't here enough to hear the
Oh, I said I made a whole video about it, but I said I wouldn't have let it come down, and I would have rebuilt it. I would have followed the law immediately, and especially after a court order.
Okay.
I'm not going to jail for this stuff.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I know you wouldn't. But.
Did you have any other questions for Karen? Do you have any questions?
I just got here.
We're talking about the obelisk?
I don't understand the whole situation and what the power of that the mayor actually has with the
We should have had none. Yeah, it was if the city council, mayor, or the community wanted to have the discussion, they needed to immediately approach the state SHPO and like really start to have it in a more transparent, honest, and appropriate manner. It was a failure. I made a whole video about it because it's like every turn, every decision from 2 years out, like, and then 2 days out, and then 1 day out, and then every day after, right? And so for me, it's not how I'm going to follow the law. If you don't like the law, you can go change the law. But like as mayor, I'm going to follow the law because that's my job. And I want you to follow the law as citizens, so I'm going to do what I'm asking you to do as well, right?
And I think a lot of the conversations we've heard was that the mayor deliberately pulled police off of the plaza
Oh, he definitely told them to stand down.
He told them to
They
stand down.
testified on
So
trial.
they knew that he knew they were bringing it down.
He definitely.
And he allowed that to happen.
And I don't want to, and I've had this conversation with a bunch of the native groups and like that just want it gone. And I'm like, I don't believe in erasing history. I believe in adding the full story to whatever exists. I can't imagine, maybe it's just me, but like I sit in the ugly truth of it all than pretend it never existed. And, difference of opinion, but I think it's important, and I want tourists that come here to be forced to have to think about it too. Right. Because I think that's one great thing that we can put back into this world, in this community, make you think.
If the city has limited power to, move the obelisk, what power does the city have to recontextualize it, or should they add more interpretive material?
Because probably not able to be repaired completely, we're gonna have to involve the state. We're gonna have to involve the Historic Preservation Office and really figure out what steps legally need to be taken to follow the federal law and to follow our own historic codes. It's so convoluted and it's wedged in there. I don't know if someone would tell me. Most scholars have said, constitutional scholars have said, you don't have any right. You just need to rebuild it as is. And so if you can't use the old pieces, you just need to build it that looks like it. Yeah. And so I think for me, then it becomes, what are we putting around it to tell the full and complete story? So that way we don't have another toppling episode.
Is that something that the city has power to do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Around it? Yeah. Yeah.
Tarin, thank you very much.
Facilitator here, and potpourri is kind of a bunch of leftover stuff, things that people have mentioned in the survey. So
give me your question.
Introduce yourself and start with the question.
I'm saying that I want all of it. I want to know what you want, and I want to know what you want to know.
Okay.
I'll start.
Go for it.
We have a mayor currently that came in as a kind of outsider. He ran a business. He was really good at that business. He was rich. So he came into Santa Fe and he has faltered. Yeah. He has failed because his learning curve was steep.
Is this Weber?
Here you are. So you're a bit of an outsider too, right?
Yeah.
But the difference is I actually know how to turn around government, right? I've done it. I've transformed a whole government agency, the second most powerful government agency in the state. It was defunct, it was unhappy, there was no equity, there was a bunch of silent wounds like the city has right now. The difference between me and the mayor is that I actually know how to work within the constraints of law, of government. It's a different beast. It's not a business. I have a small business. Government needs in order to work on a daily basis and to check all the boxes and to follow the law and to follow the codes is a different beast. You've got to want to do good government if you're going to do that job. He didn't even know what good government really was. How could you? He's never been slapped with it in the face, right? But transforming an agency, one, does not happen overnight. It was a 4-year process for us to start winning national awards for the happiest government workplace in the country, right? It is a day in, day out, actually amazing managers that understand their bottom line is public service and delivering for whatever institution they're working for. We have no belief in public service right now going on in City Hall. And I know how to fire people in government. He doesn't.
Thank you so much. Next question.
I'll ask about immigration, what your stance is, and about the current status of the city being a sanctuary city.
I think that the city has really dropped the ball on providing the necessary not only services but cover that has been needed since February. We've known that this was coming down the pipe, right? So I think that, I know there's a group that just came in this past week to provide free legal services, but we should have been championing that. There are thousands of cities in Santa Fe, and you're telling me that we couldn't collectively as a group come up with a solution to provide those services, to get burner phones into homes to alert and to make sure that they have anonymity, right? to work with the villageries to expand operations so they can go directly to our immigrant community as opposed to having them come out. They won't come out. They're not coming to the doctors. So, I don't think we've done enough to be proactive and to have those conversations. And when I was doing the survey work, I reached out to a bunch of the organizations that are on the ground. And, they were like, you don't speak Spanish, you're white, and stuff right now. And I canvassed every door in District 3 on the south side, because everyone said no one goes to the south side. I was like, we start on the south side, right? And I was like, you tell me where not to go. I won't go by myself, but with my group, but I want everyone's feedback. Like, I didn't care if you were a registered voter, you live here, you use services. I want to know how the city can better serve you. So they're like, we will get your survey filled out for you. Just stay out of these certain areas. And is this back to conversation with you? No, not in the way that they should. So we can do better.
Great.
Thank you. Was that survey in Spanish too?
Yes. Everything that I put out on Fix Our City Different had both English and Spanish. And after every video about various topics, wastewater, housing, all the things, it had questions to also give feedback on. I want everyone to feel that they have heard, that they have a way to log it. I want to take that transportation app that just came out and expand it and to push to tell you what's going on in your neighborhood, what's happening with the meetings, give you the ability to actually put your public comment without having to come to meetings. Wouldn't that be nice? We can modernize government in a real way. There's plenty of communities that have just put everything online now. There's no need for an IFRA. You can go online and find it yourself, right? I don't want frivolous lawsuits anymore at the city. That was my first job, was to find an attorney that we could hire to do IFRA. Everyone thought I was nuts. I asked a friend who had a private practice that did class action lawsuits to do part-time with the land office to only do IFRA. We've never gotten sued. We have returned every request that has ever been made to us. I do not understand the misplacement of files and not giving people the public records that they have requested. That is their job.
Thank you. Thank you. Any question over here?
I'm trying to form this question. With an issue such as short-term rentals, there's pros and cons to issues. There's related problems, housing, affordability, and causes that are undetermined. And your constituency has complaints. How do you propose or determine what is the problem and what are the facts, and then for solutions and then implement them with management and staff?
Yeah, so I don't think we need any more short-term rentals. We are only getting permits for 900 out of the over 2,000 that we know exist in the city proper. So that's at least we're missing half of the lodger's tax that we should be getting off of short-term rentals. I have done the numbers. I've run the numbers on our occupancies of hotels since we unleashed the short-term rental market in the way that we did. We used to have 70 average in peak tourist time, and there were a couple weekends, mainly Indian Market, that would hit full occupancy. We are now down to only Indian Market hitting full occupancy, and they have not, since the pandemic, come back up to 61%, past 61% occupancy. Now, I don't know about you, but having a major hotel in downtown go out of business, well, we know what happens, because we see Albuquerque. Albuquerque's downtown had that happen. They lost just massive buildings that are open and ended up causing major hits, right? So, I don't want that. I think that we are at the peak of where we are. I want a moratorium until we really figure out what we could sustain beyond. But I also think part of it is how we're advertising. We stripped all of the arts away from the advertising money, and we put it towards outdoor rec. I love outdoor rec. I've expanded it throughout our public lands all over New Mexico. I think it's very important, but not at the expense of the stuff that pays 22 to 33% of our budget, which is camp markets, our art, and our festivals. And so, they also stay in the hotels versus the Airbnbs typically. The outdoor rec folks are, they go to the grocery store, they buy their food, they cook in-house, they're low maintenance. And that's still great money, but it's not sustainable for downtown, and those businesses are hemorrhaging.
sorry, Ted, can I ask you to clarify? I might have missed it. What was the government that you refashioned? Where did
Oh,
you
I'm the Deputy Land Commissioner for the New Mexico State.
You're talking about the land office then. Okay.
Yeah. So we had wait times of years for permits and leasing. We took that down to 15 to 30 days, right? We built capacity. we actually talked to the staff, the ones doing the actual work. It's like, what do you need? We didn't have all the middle. We don't have all the middle management that is really not necessary. You create management positions to create ladders when you need to, so you keep your people in-house, but if you don't manage before you cut the boots on the ground. And this administration's done the opposite every time.
So I have a quick one, because we just got the rattle there. What ideas do you have to improve public transportation?
Oh, God, this is the best. So I talked to the National Smart Union, because I was like, listen, it's a different beast to do the transportation contract. And they really should be in a different negotiation than AFSCME. I want to add a bus route at minimum from the airport that goes down Airport Road, uptown and around, that runs all day, all night. To do that, I need hazard pay, all the things that this administration refused to negotiate with the current contract with AFSCME. I think everyone probably deserves it, but I'm saying, I need the bus system to get back on track quickly. We are pushing people out from a housing perspective, but we're not even making it amenable if you do manage to find housing here to get around, right? So and the traffic is going to get worse if we don't figure out how to maximize public transportation. So I'm in that for the long haul.
First question, sorry. There's been much discussion in recent years about policing and what the city should do to make it both effective and fair. What would be your approach as mayor?
Yeah, I want us to take public safety seriously. I think once we figure out the financial issues and where these cash flow issues are happening, I'd like to see a reprioritization into public safety. I want to see us expand alternative response units and actually put them to the job that they're supposed to be doing, which is actually in our community, meeting people, really doing that on the ground work to keep our community safe instead of just clearing encampments, which is what their job is now right now. Was there another part of that? I think I might have gotten. Is there another part to that question?
No, just what would your approach be generally? It was meant to be a general question.
Oh, yeah. So I want standard operating procedures. I want cops to actually get the housing that they were promised, down payment assistance they were promised over a year ago to actually be enacted. I want our communities, and I want to incentivize it. But yeah, I think we need oversight and real investment in communication.
Okay, great, thanks.
I'll spin off that one.
Sure.
So, given the cost of one ARU unit and where it's supposed to work with 3 pieces, how would you expand that? Obviously, one unit is close to about $1 million.
That's not what I've seen.
But anyway, there's 3 pieces: fire, police, and counselor of some sort. And so, how would you expand that to make it effective and to actually have some teeth and be utilized the way it's supposed to be used?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what they're being told right now. I'm not in there. All I can see is what's happened, right? And the only thing that they've had to show for 4 years now is clearing encampments. So I don't think that they've even been in the right direction in terms of having that conversation. When I talked to the fire, they don't want it under their umbrella. I get why they don't want it under their umbrella, but we need real case management, real, community service, public service happening through that group. I realize it would be an overhaul because that's not what they're doing right now. So I don't know if I'd move it outside fire. I mean, the actual job and what their role is in the community. That would be an overhaul because that's not what they're being utilized for right now. But the ones that y'all sat through to hear to approve all these things and what their job description was supposed to be versus what it ended up being is night and day.
Okay.
But more cases.
Next.
Go, Gina.
You will.
How you want to work with the immigrant community?
We're just having a nice little conversation back at the poopery table. So I don't think this administration has done anything but pick a fight with Trump and defend the sanctuary city, which that last part definitely should be doing. I think they should be defending the sanctuary city. But I don't know why we weren't immediately working with law firms and nonprofits to move in additional services and resources to aid in all the things that were going on, specifically anyone that is detained and needs legal services. I don't know. The first week that I've heard that a group came in, they came in from a different town. They're not from here. Thank God they did come in. But I think that's one. I think two is actually people that are on the ground doing the work to say like, hey, how do we get a notification system going? Is it burner phones? Is it an email? Is it an app? What is it? So that way everyone feels safe. How can the police force, if we actually had more than 3 to 7 people operating at one time, like could make a stand, right? What would that look like? What are they having, success in other cities? Are we limiting face coverings? Are we, saying no, you can't come here if you're unmarked vehicles and don't have warrants, right? Are we really holding? I don't think we have, not in the way that we could. So I would love, to have a more proactive conversation with the groups. When I was doing the survey work, I went door to door on the south side to every door. Didn't matter if they were registered or not, because I didn't care. You live here, you use the services. I want to know what you want to see fixed. Organizations that do work on the south side, and they asked me as a white woman to stay the hell out of certain areas, and I was like, we'll stay out of respect, but I still care what that community wants, and so they did, and they helped get those surveys done for me. So I got Spanish speaker responses back in to really kind of drill down to how we, approach services for that population, right?
We want to keep the immigration committee because the mayor, we have one immigration committee now, but to be honest, they don't let us do a lot. So what's your proposal?
Is it like one of those, just like to get your feedback on things? Yeah. Advisory. So, the only one that I know that has actually figured out a way to get things done seems to be the bike committee that didn't have any authority either. I think it really requires someone that's going to champion and listen to what y'all suggest, right? Like for me, I'm not the expert. You tell me what needs to happen, I'm going to follow you. I'm not trying to pretend that I know what to do, right? I don't think you've had that in this administration. I'm loud, and I definitely, am like to lead, but I know my lane. I'm very cognizant. So I think y'all should be listened to. I don't know if any of those committees have real authority, but since they're regional ones with voting members from both chambers. But, it really should be an advisory committee that actually is listened to. And if you're not, because you're right, that'd be a waste of time and energy. Yeah. And call it out, y'all should be calling it out in the press.
We have a lot of problems right now, but one of the most problems is the community don't want to talk to with the police. They're afraid. They don't open. Well, we know why, right? They don't want to open the door. They don't want to do nothing with police. How you pretend to fix it?
So in the 90s, this is what I've been told. I wasn't here, but I've been told that for years, this community had ongoing discussion where groups of 8, 10 people would sit around. You'd have a cop, you'd have a city worker, a county worker, a resident, a neighborhood person. You had everyone around each table, and they met constantly throughout the years to have that dialogue, to be able to put a face to the name, so everyone felt a rapport and could actually find solutions. And for a long time, I'd like to see those kind of conversations come back.
How do you think you could improve the relationship between the city council? How do you think you could improve the relationship between the city council and the mayor's office, especially around public safety, which is very critical?
Yeah, so I think one is ending the siloing of not only the divisions but the relationships that everyone has within City Hall and the various positions. I want transparency and full disclosures. Like, if y'all have an issue, I want to know. And if we're having an issue in your district, you need to know. So like the reporting system is the one thing. Like I want y'all notified if someone from your district reports an issue in your district. I want that notification to go to you too. I don't understand why we're not holding our city councilors accountable, right? We can't because they don't know. They actually have no idea. They don't get told budget, and I think that all has to shift.
My name is Tarin Nix once again, and the problems are many, but I am genuinely hopeful for what can actually happen. I'm hopeful because I know, unlike what maybe some of the people might not, that like good government is actually possible. I am in this race to prove that you can transform. I'm the only one that's transformed a state agency, build coalitions to deliver record-breaking results that never have been even thought of in my office before. I know how to deliver the results that you need and you're looking for, and I hope we'll give me that opportunity. Again, Tarin Nix, and I hope I can count your vote. Thank you so much for this awesome event.